What if you were the first responder? What if you were the only responder? What if help was not on the way? How prepared are you to handle a traumatic injury? Hey guys, it's Jara with Wicked Prepared. I've got something to share with you today that I just put together for our family. But first I wanted to say thank you to all of our viewers and all of our subscribers. Our little channel is growing and it's very exciting, and we're so thankful for each and every one of you. So if you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I promise it won't hit you back. And if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. We really enjoy knowing that our content is valuable to you. Now what I have to share with you today is this trauma kit that I put together for our family. Now a trauma kit is different than your typical first aid kit. We have all kinds of first aid kits. We have first aid kits for our home. We have first aid kits for our vehicles. We have first aid kits that go hiking with us. We have our EDC first aid kits that we carry with us all the time. Our kids have many first aid kits that they carry with them. We're fully stocked in first aid kits. A trauma kit is different because a trauma kit is meant to deal with a traumatic injury, and only items that you would use for traumatic injury are included in the kit. Because if you're in a situation with a traumatic injury, you don't want to be shuffling through piles of Band-Aids and packets of Tylenol, because those things just aren't going to help you. You need to have just the essentials, because minutes count. Minutes are crucial in this type of situation. I recently picked up this book, the Survival Medicine Handbook, the essential guide for when medical help is not on the way. Now, if you were in an SHTF grid down situation, you probably wouldn't have access to medical help and first responders, so it would be very important to have a kit like this. I actually find a trauma kit like this to be an important part of everyday preparedness. You never know when you might be the first one to come upon an accident or a shooting or any number of things. When there might be an injury in your home or your workplace, and for whatever reason the first responders can't get there quick enough. Because when you're talking about traumatic injury and blood loss, every second counts. Having these tools available could mean the difference between life and death. I know some of you might say, I would never be comfortable using some of these items. I would never be able to use these things. I've got a few things to say about that. Number one, I would never suggest that you go fill a kit with things that you have no idea how to use and you're not comfortable using. I definitely would suggest getting training and familiarizing yourself with everything in this kit, what it's used for, what it does, how it's used. If you can find classes in your area that you can afford to take, that's great. I think that knowledge is definitely a part of prepping that's often overlooked, and it's a very important part. The more first aid and emergency medical training you can get, the better. And if you can't, there's plenty of videos just right here on YouTube University that will help you learn how to use these items. The second thing I want to say is you have no idea what you're capable of if you're faced with the actual situation. If you're in a dire emergency and life and death is hanging in the balance and the adrenaline starts flowing, you have no idea what you would be capable of. And the third point I want to make is that it may not be you. There may be another bystander, another person who comes along who's more capable and more comfortable than you are using these things. You never know, these tools might be used on you if you are the one with a traumatic injury and someone who is a witness is able to use these things to save your life. Now let's get right down to it. The kit and what's inside of it. I chose this roll type of bag to organize my kit. I got a lot of my inspiration for how I organize this and put it together from a girl named Lorna Marie right here on YouTube. She's a great organizer. I love all her stuff. So I chose this roll bag. It's from Blackhawk, a brand called Blackhawk, and you just clip it open and it has Velcro. Velcro it and it all unrolls. And you can see everything. You have easy access to everything. And I love that. Now I had another bag that I bought to try. They looked almost identical on Amazon and I just wasn't able to tell the difference. So I ordered them both and I started with this one. And this was less than half the price of the Blackhawk bag. And it's almost the same size. I was able to fit all of my items basically in the same way. It's got the same number of pockets. The only thing I didn't like was that I was not able to get it to close up with the Velcro. When I rolled it up, it was too large. It was too bulky to close up. So we ended up using a bungee cord to hold it closed, and that worked okay. And we did take it on a hike with us just like that. And so if you're really trying to cut down on the budget, then you could try this bag to save some money, because it would work just fine, honestly, if you're okay with having it held together with a bungee, or if you trim down the items in your kit and you have a little bit less than I had, I'm sure it would close right up with the Velcro. And It doesn't have handles on the outside. That's the other, there's no handles. So once it's rolled up, it's just a roll. It does have these eyelets that you could hang it with. Now here is an overview of everything that I put in the kit. I'm going to take everything out and show you and explain to you what everything is. You can notice that I did label the pockets, and I did label it so that all the labels are able to be read right side up from the same side of the bag, because I figure you're opening this up, you're laying this out, and you're going to be sitting on one side of it getting things out. And it's important to have things labeled for a few reasons. You want to have, you want to know where everything is, you want to know if anything's missing, and if you have someone that needs to help you, if you have a bystander who needs to get things out for you because your hands are busy trying to stop bleeding or perform CPR or whatever it may be, you're going to need people to be able to easily find these items that they're not familiar with. So the first thing we've got in this pocket right here, and this just comes open with Velcro. We've got a tourniquet, a cat tourniquet. This hasn't even been taken out of the wrapper yet. I need to get that done. This was a 2-pack. I definitely want to put several more of these kits together. I'm going to be keeping this one now in my vehicle because I figure that's a good place to have it. And the way that my life is, if something's in my vehicle, it's pretty much always with me. Now, if your life is a little bit different, if you share a vehicle with a spouse or a child, or you commute to work on public transportation, or whatever the case may be, then you have to reassess your situation. But for me, if I have this in my car, then I pretty much know it's always with me until I'm able to make more kits for home and other places. So we've got the tourniquet, we've got a light right here. This is just a Dollar Tree headlamp. They're pretty bright. This would do the trick. If you have to tend to someone in the dark, then you have some light. And I like that the button here is offset. It's not right on the front, so it's not going to accidentally get pushed while it's wrapped up in this bag. Next we have the CPR mask. This is super tiny. It's on a keychain. This came in a pack of, I want to say, 6 or 8, so they can really be stashed all over the place. So that's what we have in this first Velcro pocket. Next, right here, we've got our PPE. We've got a couple of packets of hand sanitizer. These are just individual packets. I love to have these to put in all sorts of different kits. And then this little pouch right here contains a mask and several pairs of nitrile gloves. And it just occurred to me that I really should label this pouch. So I'll be doing that when I'm done this video. We've got our PPE right here. Next we have this handy little pocket guide. This is a handy little guide. It really is. It's got little tabs to organize. It's got all sorts of information in it. I know that a lot of nurses use this. It's got all kinds of information. I do kind of wish that I could make my own pocket guide, and I may actually try to do so. I may try to print some items out and put them, you know, laminate them and put them in here, the specific information that I want to know, because this book actually kind of goes beyond the scope of what I would need to know and what I would understand, but it's got a lot of information and it fits right in here, so this was perfect. This pocket here has hemostatic agents. We've got, these are obviously things that would stop bleeding. We've got Celox, which is a powder, granules. This is really good because this works in cold weather. This can clot hypothermic blood. It also works well on people who are taking blood thinning agents. We've got this wound seal. This I actually had to open up. We did not have a traumatic injury. We had the absolute tiniest little nick that my daughter got on the back of her ankle when we were camping, and for the life of us, we could not get it to stop bleeding with anything from the regular first aid kit. So you learn a lot more in practice than you do in theory, so that made me realize I need to get the smaller packets of these to add to our regular first aid kit. But this is actually a pretty big bottle inside of here, so it's meant for larger wounds to stop bleeding. So we've got a few of these hemostatic agents to stop bleeding. Here we have quick clotting gauze that could be used to pack a wound, a deep wound that's bleeding. Quick clotting gauze. Right here we have got, this pocket contains an emergency blanket and a triangle bandage. Now the emergency blanket, this is just one of these space blankets, Mylar blankets. These are super thin and handy to put into any kit, but they can be important in a trauma kit because if you can keep your patient warm, you can help prolong the onset of shock. And you never know, you might be coming across someone who's in a very cold environment who has a traumatic injury, and that would help them. And the triangle bandage, this is just a simple cloth triangle bandage with a safety pin included. And these are very handy for a lot of things. You could use this to make a sling for someone's arm. You could use this to help bandage a head wound or another type of wound on a part of the body that's, you know, oddly shaped that you'd have a hard time bandaging otherwise. So that's what we've got in there. And in here we have a Hyphen vented chest seal. This is actually a two-pack. This would be used for a penetrating chest wound. Basically, this would seal the chest and help keep air from the outside of the chest cavity from getting into the chest cavity to prevent a collapsed lung. And the vented part means that it does allow fluids or air from inside the chest cavity to vent out if they build up to a level that's too much, because that can put pressure on the heart and can lead to shock or heart failure. So a vented chest seal is an important thing to have. Next to this we have a skin stapler. This obviously would be used, this is preloaded with staples. This obviously could be used in place of sutures. Now you can put sutures in your kit if you know how to use them or you want to be train yourself in how to use them. I really kind of wanted to avoid that, so I chose the skin stapler. I do have some sutures in here though because they came with the skin stapler. So I just stuck them in here. You never know, there might be someone who is trained in how to use them, so I put them in there. We've got instructions for everything. We've got Micromend. This is an emergency suture kit. We've got the instructions and it comes with a little cleaning pad that goes with that. This Micromend is basically, it'll almost do the work of stitches without having to use stitches. So I thought that was something that might come in handy. So we've got the Micromend, gauze pads that came with all of this stuff, and then we do have some steri strips in this pocket as well with the skin stapler. So that is basically all things that you would use to close wounds. Now in this pocket we have got some sugar packets, just plain old Domino sugar packets. We have glucose gel, glucose tablets, and we have got several packets of just plain old aspirin. And we also have a packet of hydration powder. Now, of course, the glucose and the sugar can be used for someone who is in insulin shock, someone who is extremely hypoglycemic. That could be a quick fix for someone in that situation. The aspirin, of course, can be used to change the outcome in someone who is having a heart attack. And the hydration packet can just be used for someone who is dehydrated, obviously. So then over here we have got a splint. This can be used to splint basically anything that you would need to splint. And underneath the splint we have got an emergency trauma dressing that could be used to dress a wound after you've got the bleeding stopped, maybe with your quick clot gauze. Over here we've got a bite and sting kit. This is useful for spider bites, snake bites. It's also good for bee stings, wasp stings. We thankfully do not have any venomous snakes or any spiders that could kill you here in Maine, but you never know. I just thought this could be handy for wasps and bees, and I do know plenty of kids who have had spider bites that got really badly inflamed and swollen, so even though you're not going to die from a spider bite here, you still might want to extract that. And you never know, we do take this kit with us when we travel, so you never know when you might need the bite and sting kit. Now in these two pockets we have various sizes of nasopharyngeal airways. Naso meaning it goes in through the nose. They are much less invasive than an oral airway, and also a little bit easier for someone who is not a medical professional to administer. And then of course there are packets of lubricant that you need to use with these airways. I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the size 28 here is the most commonly used size, but I did try to include several different sizes. These can be purchased singly, or you can purchase a whole set with a variety of sizes, which is what I did. I didn't put them all in here because I didn't really want to just smush them in and possibly damage them, but I may try to fit a couple more, and I'm just trying to make sure that I have the most common sizes. Over here we've got a pair of shears. Now these are, I love these. These fold up. These are basically like something called the Leatherman Raptor, but this, I gotta tell you, this is a knockoff brand. The Leatherman Raptor is pretty expensive. Now, I would usually recommend with something like tools, I would recommend you spend the extra and go with the name brand. In this case, I just couldn't fit it in the budget. I did my research, I read the reviews, I decided I'd take a chance on this, which was about half the price. And I'm pretty excited because it seems like it's gonna be okay. Basically, this is a pair of trauma shears that you would use to cut someone's clothing off. It also has, this part that flips out here has a seat belt cutter. It has an oxygen tank wrench on it, and it has, on the end here, it has a glass breaker. And then it does have a belt clip on it, and of course it folds up. And I'm pretty excited because it does seem like it might stand up to the test. I had this old pair of denim jeans, and so I tried it out on this, and it does cut right through the denim jeans. So that was pretty. And then I took the seatbelt cutter and I was able to rip right through those denim jeans. So I think it might be worth getting this knockoff brand, at least as a placeholder. I would love to get the Leatherman Raptor eventually, but I will link both of them down in the description so that you can choose which one you would like to get if you choose to get one. But they fold right up. See, there's the glass breaker right there, and that is pretty sharp. So the final item I have here is a pen and a paper. Now, of course, this is a Sharpie, just a double-ended Sharpie. It's got the fine end and the more thick end. I really love these for a lot of things, and this is just an all-weather notebook. If I can get this out. I can't even get it out, so I'm just going to leave it right in there. But the Sharpie can be really important. You can use this to write down tourniquet times that you apply to tourniquet. You could use this to mark, you know, a red area around a bite or a sting or an infected or inflamed area so that you can see if it's growing larger. You can write down in the notebook, you know, what time you gave someone some sort of medication. It's just, this is a great, it's always a great thing to have. A pen and paper. And once you've got everything in here, it's pretty simple to just roll it up. Velcro. Strap. And it's ready to go. So again, just an overview of what I included in my trauma kit. We've got a cat tourniquet. We've got a headlamp and a CPR mask. We've got some PPE, which consists of a mask, some nitrile gloves, some hand sanitizer. We've got a couple of different hemostatic agents. We have got an emergency blanket and a triangle bandage. This pocket has aspirin, glucose, and hydration. We've got a splint and a trauma dressing here. And then we've got the nasopharyngeal airways and the lubrication that goes with them. We've got the pen and the all-weather notebook, the trauma shears. This is the bite and sting kit. In here we've got the skin stapler, some sutures, the micro-mend little sutures and steri strips, a vented chest seal, the quick clotting gauze, and here we've got the pocket emergency guide. So that's what I included in my trauma kit. I'd love to hear in the comments down below if you decide to make a trauma kit or if you already have one and what you've included in yours, or if there's anything that you think I'm missing. I'd love to hear about it because I'm always looking to improve things. I had a goal to get this finished by the time we went camping. We go camping in a pretty remote area. We drive 4.5 hours north of our home, and at least the last hour we have no cell phone service. You lose all radio stations before you enter the park. We drive half an hour inside the park on narrow dirt roads just to get to our campsite, so I thought this would be a great thing to have along. Of course, there's rangers and stuff inside the park, but we go hiking, on long hikes, we go on canoe trips, and it was just something I really wanted to have done, and I'm really glad to have it done. It's going to stay with me in my car now, and I'm hoping to put together a few more of these kits for us to have in other places. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We have got a lot more things we're planning that we're so excited to share with you. Remember, if you're wicked prepared, you can survive today, so you can thrive tomorrow. We'll see you next time.